Hello, parents. This is Jessica Wall. I'm giving you an orchestra update. This update has to do with your child continuing in orchestra in 7th and 8th grade. So if you already know that your child wants to keep going with orchestra, then you can disregard this video. But if your kid is on the fence, please continue to listen. So by now, your child has been playing their instrument for a couple years, 2 or 3 years, but there is still a lot to learn in the 7th and 8th grade year. And so uh, if you're having conversations about, well, I want to try something new, I want to switch over to band, or maybe I want to go to choir, here are just some things to think about, I guess. Um, by the way, everybody will need to take a music choice in 7th and 8th grade. So those choices, as far as I know, currently February 15th would be general music, choir, band, orchestra. And so just thinking about choir, for instance, your child can sing on their own and get that experience, but could you get instruction on viola on your own? So if they did switch over to choir, just think about the value that they get if you were to sign up for lessons. That would be your cost. I mean, you'd have to pay for it. They're getting the instruction for free at school. Great. Also, if they're thinking of switching over to band, for instance, they would need prior approval from the band teacher before they can even enroll. And so then they would probably need some instruction, some remedial instruction over the summer, which would come out of, again, your cost, out of your pocket. So that might not even work out to join band. And it's just the idea of being a jack of all trades, but a master of none. Have they really gotten the full experience on the violin or the cello? Probably not. So thinking about that. Along those same lines, in 7th grade, by the beginning of 7th grade, we have learned the notes on all the strings. So at the tail end of 6th grade is when we finally learn notes on all the strings, but we haven't mastered that note reading. So 7th is when they really start to master note reading on all of their strings. They also play true middle school music, which is in 5 parts. So in 6th grade, we're playing a lot of unison songs, which is everybody plays the same part, or maybe it's divided into 3 parts. But the 5-part pieces is what happens in 7th grade. And then 8th grade, besides the fact we're playing longer songs with more complex rhythms, we are learning things like vibrato, which is that shaky, that sort of technique. We do that in 8th grade. I don't teach that in any other grade but 8th. We also learn shifting in 8th grade, so then they can shift on their instrument to access notes in higher positions. And then we also play more in chamber groups without a conductor. So there really is a lot in store for students as they continue on. As you know, kids improve year after year. The more they do something, the better they're going to get. And so then that's going to create more of an enjoyment with your child. They're going to feel like it's easier. And so then that will just lead to things being more fun for them. If they're feeling like they're struggling, this year, next year, it's going to be a lot easier. I see it all the time. Students come back in the fall and they can play and they're like, oh, wow, I didn't sound like this last year. So that means that we can increase our repertoire. We can play more songs, more complex pieces, and it's not as difficult as if you were just trying to learn it like in 6th grade or 7th grade. And then they'll have more opportunities in 7th and 8th grade, like solo ensemble, where they learn a solo or a small group. We take different field trips. So the big 8th grade field trip is going to perform at the Capitol, which I highly recommend if you can chaperone that trip or even just attend the concert at the Capitol. It's like nothing you will have ever heard before in your life. You will be so amazed. So that's a huge thing. And then we sometimes play for assemblies. We might even go to other schools. So more opportunities to get out into the community. And then just, by sheer number of years they've been playing, this also opens the opportunity for them to study in high school. Not that they are going to do it in college or anything, but you never know. Maybe they might. Maybe they want to just play their cello for fun. And the more years they do it, the higher rate of retention their skills will be for the future. So, if you stop at 7th grade, if you try and pick it up 5 years later, not sure you will be able to do that successfully. But if you continue on, then you might. Um, I also, just for some brain research, um, playing an instrument engages many areas of the brain at once. And so that strengthens brain function and can be applied to different activities. So if you've ever thought, my 7th grader has gone brain dead, it's not like an untrue statement. Like literally, their brain function plateaus in 7th grade, um, and so having them be in orchestra, playing an instrument. It's not even like choir. It's not even like singing. It's different when it's an instrument. It's like actually feeding their brain and allowing their brain to be more flexible and build neurons. And so the science behind it, there's amazing video. It's only 4 minutes, and you could even listen to it because it's a TED Talk. But I linked it to this email. Um, you really have to see the full thing and watch it with your children and just be like, hey, what you're doing right now is so good for your brain. And now we know what the research says. So we've always known that music is good for your brain, but there's like actual research behind it. And so just a bit of housekeeping then for 7th and 8th grade. The rental fee does increase to $140 a year. But as you know, you can get your fees waived or decreased upon request. And if you don't qualify for free or reduced lunch, that's not a barrier. Just contact me and we'll make it happen. And just keep that in mind that, the financial aspect of it should not prevent you from continuing. Or at the very least, if you don't want to rent an instrument at all, they can do their practicing at school. And then you would just fill out the classroom use agreement, which allows them to use this instrument in class, but not take it home. So, I mean, if you're like, I know my kid doesn't practice, but I still want them to do it, you know, they can do it. I give them full permission. The point is stay with it. And if you change your mind and want to rent an instrument, fine, we can do that. So I just wanted to let you all know about the uh, benefits of continuing in orchestra. Um, Many of you know Mr. Olson at the high school. He also teaches at Kennedy. And so he's got an amazing program. Kids come back to talk to me during finals and say they're still in orchestra and they love it. And so that's a really special thing to see. And I want that for your child. I think everybody in orchestra should keep going. If they're having a good time, it's like, why stop a good thing? And so again, if you have any questions and just want to talk it through with me, or if you want to set up a meeting or something like that, please let me know. I'm happy to do that. So thanks for listening. I know this was kind of a long video, but it's super important and I wanted you all to know this information. Have a wonderful weekend.